Yes, it's done. Yep, everything's set up. Yep, I have it right here. Has the video and everything going on. Okay, so how do I log off of it? Yeah. Wait a minute, now it says live. Can you check it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Don't worry about it. We're live. We're live. You will in 2 seconds because it's going on. Give me just 1 second. Okay, let me let you go, okay? Go on, we're live.
The Charter Review Committee meeting today, January 31st.
Grab the mic. I'm sorry, if you can move the mic because we can't hear you at all. Thank you.
Okay, this is the Charter, is it on? Charter Review Committee meeting today, January 31st, 2022, at 6:12. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk do a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Weber?
Here.
Ms. Walker?
Here.
Ms. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Schrader?
Here.
Chair Buchanan, sorry.
Present.
I just apologize. Okay, we have quorum. So now our attorney is gonna go ahead and start the
Oh,
meeting.
first of all, I apologize for having to leave early. I have to be home for my kid at 8, so. But what I wanted to do was I drafted, and in your packet, there is a draft charter that I wrote. And it is only, all of these, everything in here is a suggestion. And I tried to keep it as basic as possible. But I'm giving you this so that you can study it, you can look at it, you can compare it to the existing charter, which you also have a copy of in your packet, and to the other charter we have looked at, City of Fort Lauderdale. You also might want to look at the Town of West Park, but, again, I apologize I have to leave early, but I think that giving you this draft is a good opportunity for you to be able to sit down and really sink your teeth into something concrete that we're actually gonna start working on. So take a look at it. While I provided in the beginning of the charter two options for the government, either strong mayor or manager/commissioner form, I did have to choose one or the other to draft the rest of the charter, and so I just drafted it as a commission manager form. But if this charter review committee decides it wants to recommend a strong mayor, then we can draft it that way. So anyway, again, apologize for having to leave early. I'm gonna scoot out of here. Please call me or email me once you review this if you have any questions, and next time, we're gonna look at it more in depth, particularly as it relates to form of government. I think we'll be discussing that next time. I'm gonna hand it back over to the chair and the clerk, and I will see you guys next month.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so now what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go to additions, deletions, withdrawals to the agenda. So what I wanted to bring to your attention is I placed on your, on each of your, on the dais, I provided you with some dates, which are from now until June. And the reason why I only gave you until June is because after that point, there's vacation, there's the summer and all that, and I'm not sure if the board's gonna, continue meeting during the summer. So that's why I only gave you up to that period of time. So I would like to add that to the agenda because one of the dates is Memorial Day weekend. So that's really why I wanted to bring it to your attention so that you guys can decide which date you'd rather change it to, either the week before or the week after. So that's one of the additions to the agenda. Other than that, all we've really done is change the order of the meeting. And does anybody have any objection for adding to the agenda the calendar? Everyone's okay? All right, thank you. Chair, if you will continue, you can start now at the approval of the minutes for December 6th.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from December 6th? And would anyone like to entertain a motion for approval?
I make a motion for approval of the minutes.
Have a second?
Motion to approve made by Mr. Schroeder and seconded by Ms. Cunningham. Ms. Weber?
Approve.
Ms. Walker?
Approve.
Ms. Cunningham? Mr. Schrader?
Approve.
And Chair Buchanan? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, I'm gonna do my presentation. From down here, so all of you can hear me and hopefully it gets recorded properly. What I did was I provided you with a presentation that has actually all the sections in the charter, and I've also provided you with the actual charter and then what your options are and how you would like to see the charter evolve. So what I've done is not only given you what we actually have going on, but what you can make options are in the future, okay? Or what you will be voting on later on. So the first thing I want to just let you know, this is our department and what our department's mission statement is. The Town of Pembroke Park Clerk's Office is committed to serving the community as the town's records custodian, supervisor of elections, assisting the public in accessing public documents and information, and to provide services in a timely, accurate, and professional manner. The town clerk is the official keeper of records, maintaining an accurate record of the official actions of the town commission and town boards, such as official minutes, contracts, ordinances, and resolutions pertaining to the town of Pembroke Park. It is the central depository for all vital town records. So that's what we do in our department. Okay, so we're going to start with section 9, which states town commission, and then this is this is your actual charter. I'm sorry?
Original, you said? This is
Honey,
the actual.
you gotta speak on the thing, and because with the
You said this is the original charter?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is the original charter where it says section 9. So this one is the section that states election of commissioners. The government of the town of Pembroke Park shall be vested in a commission consisting of 5 members elected from 5 separate geographic districts. For the purpose of representation upon the election of the commissioners, the town of Pembroke Park Commission shall by ordinance prior to December 1st, 2002 appropriation, the town is in accordance with the constitutions of the state of Florida and the United States into 5
consecutively numbered geographic districts. Thereafter, by subsequently enacted ordinances, the Town of Pembroke Park Commission shall adjust the boundary lines of said districts as may be required from time to time in order that the apportionment of the town shall continue to be in accordance with the Constitution of the State of Florida and of the United States, but in an event not less frequently than within the first calendar year following each the census, which is every 10 years. So the reason why I went into this is because of having to do with districts and having to do with, what are your options? So if you look at districting, and by the way, the last two need to be turned around, because the reason why many people like districts is because they feel that they have equal representation per area. So for example, if now all 5 commissioners were from, let's say, one of the parks, then people will feel like, okay, well, how about my park? Am I going to be represented? Or the townhouses, will they be represented? Or the homes? So that's why the districting comes in, because people feel that if you're taking from each of the regions, okay, you have proper representation. So that's one of the reasons why to have districting. The other thing is specific commissioners, and again, I'm going to jump over here because I didn't switch them off. Then the other reason is specific commissioners designated per district boundary lines. So you have a specific commissioner, and that's just what I just said now, that that's the person that will be talking to the residents in that specific district. Now, the reasons to eliminate it is because you get a greater amount of candidates. Everyone is working together for the entire town. So what happens? When you have a limited amount, you're making these districts, you're making a smaller amount of people that can run. So maybe let's say you have a district and he has a district. So let's say that in your district, you have 2 people that are qualified and want to run. And in his district, there's nobody that wants to run. So, but by creating the districts, you've got to find people within those areas. If this was a bigger town and there was and it was, miles and miles and miles, then yes, but we're very small. So in reality, it's very hard to pick from. Look how difficult it was to get you guys to get involved. So imagine also an elected person that has to come in and do this for the next 4 years. So that's one of the reasons why it's recommended to, and because of this small town, for there not to be districts. The other thing is everyone is working together for the entire town. So instead of I want my area to have this and this and this, and I want my area to have this and this, now everybody's working together for the greater good of the entire town. Even though they're supposed to, it's not that, okay, I'm only going to represent my town. No, I mean my area. No, they represent everybody. But this just makes it a little easier for people to be like, okay, now I feel like I'm not only going to represent my area, but I'm also looking at what other areas need what, because not everybody needs the same thing. There's an area where it is all industrial. So what happens? Those are other needs from a residential area. Those are other needs from the mobile home areas, you see? So that's really what it's all about. Going ahead and make sure that the town is working, everybody's working together. Okay, so this section here has to do with the filing of the elections and also what are the requirements. This is the section that states, and this is what's interesting. It says here, shall file with the town clerk a written notice. Well, just so you know, the charter doesn't have a town clerk. There's no town clerk in the charter. So this makes it really difficult that you're stating that you have to do something by charter, but then that position is not in the charter. Normally, the position of manager, of attorney, and of the town clerk is always in the charter. This also has a number of different reasons why I took this out of the charter, section 9. I'm not going to read each and every one of these. I'm going to go into what the options are so that then you'll see why I went ahead and took this from the charter. Okay, so an issue related to this section is that all 5 positions become available at the same time. So what are the pros? Less expensive. It becomes less expensive when the elections are done every 4 years. So that's one of the pros for it. But the con is that the commission is composed of all new commissioners. So you lose historical value. So what does this mean? So when you have a commission that only is around for 4 years and everybody changes at every 4 years, you can end up with a brand new commission up there. And all those commissioners are not going to be knowledgeable about the town or the process. Every single time we get a new commissioner, it's a huge learning curve for them because they have to be aware of what is a budget, how does our budget function. Our budget is not the same as the one you hold in your house. So it's a completely different way of doing your accounting. So all of this is what we're talking about. We're talking about one of the things you can do, just so you know, is that instead of having elections every 4 years, you actually have elections every 2 years. You stay with the 4-year terms. Okay, that's another thing. You could either stay with the 4-year term or you could turn it into a 2-year term, which means that then you'd be going ahead and electing every 2 years. But again, by doing that, you may change everybody out at the same time. But if you stagger them and then 1 year, okay, you're going to have, let's say, 3, and in 2 years, you have the other 2, and then like that, it's still 4-year terms, but instead of everybody being up at the same time, only 2 are up and then 3 are up. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Can a person run more than one time?
Well, that's the other thing you can also decide upon.
That's
Right now-
That's coming later on this?
I have it all set up for you guys, yes. So this is another thing for you all to consider in your charter that right now you don't have. You only have now 4-year terms. So you have to consider, okay, so we have these individuals with 4-year terms, and that's great, but then if all of them leave at the same time, you know, we end up with absolutely no history. We have nobody up there that can, you know, it helps when not everybody is off at the same time.
But that's
that
the
make
current
sense?
way it is now, so.
Yes, it is.
So how, I mean, wow, a little confusing there because,
Basically, you're saying that the commissioners, they are 4-year term right now.
Correct.
so all of them could leave at once.
Correct. Right now, that's what you have set. That's what I'm explaining to you. It doesn't have
I
to be
mean,
that
even
way.
if we change it, it still could end up the same way, wouldn't it?
No, because for every time an election comes, only 2 or 3 are up. Not all 5 of them at the same time. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay?
But what if their term is up?
Well, that's the whole thing. You also have to take that into consideration because you guys don't have term limits. You could have term limits. That's one of your options. Okay? But right now, I mean, understand something. If you have term limits, you're correct. That would mean that whenever that person's reached, and you also have to decide what the term limit is. So, for example, you can have that they can have 3 consecutive elections, which means that's a 12 years. So if you wish to do that, that's a consideration as well. But right now, what you currently have is your 4 years for everybody at the same time. So you could leave it as is, and you could make the changes, which is one of the things is every 2 years you would have an election, but it would be staggered. It's still 4-year terms. Nothing's changed. There's still 4 years, but instead of everybody at the same time, it's just 2
But
go up.
can you elect another person when the person's term isn't up yet?
No. No. It would be only, let's say that these were considered seats. So A, B, C, D, E, right?
But
So-
maybe A, B, C, and D all came in at the same time.
Okay, so what happens is that once the charter gets approved, that would change. So everybody that's there would either complete their term, and then in 2 years, there would be another election.
Would it be the same person? Or you said, like, say, for instance, 5 people. So if you suggest like a 2-year term, so like 2 people will run that time, and after that, When the other 2 years, the other 3 run, that's what you're saying?
No. They still stay with their 4-year terms. What happens is, now, let's say that, okay, what happens is that the charter would have to change when your term is up. So some people, let's say it would extend to 6 years, okay? And other people would just have 4, that first year, to then make it stagger, okay?
Well, the best to
After
understand.
that, you would have every 2 years, let's say, in 2 years, A, C, and D, okay, sorry, and E, they would be up for election. 2 years after that, okay, B and D would be up for election.
Well, what
see?
is it currently at? Where does the people, you said we only had 3, right, instead of 5
What do you mean?
commissioners?
Well, right now, we only have 3 commissioners.
Right.
But we are supposed to have 5.
Now, yes, but what about their terms? Are they all done at the same time?
Yes, 4-year terms.
Okay, so you're gonna run into the same thing.
No, the reason is for historical reasons. You're not
I
going to have,
understand that,
none
yeah.
of them are going to be changed out at the same year. If they change out, it would be 1 year here, and 2 years later, the other ones would change out.
Yeah, but you already said that they all came in at the same time.
No, that's what I'm explaining to you. When you go ahead and you adopt the charter, we'd have to make that first year, we'd have to make those changes. So, like, for example, whoever gets voted in, March of 2023 is the next election, correct? So let's say that by us adopting the charter, we'd make this stipulation, okay? So now in 2 years, okay, 2 of the seats will be up again. So 2023, okay, then 2025. But only 2 seats are going to be up, okay? Those that get in 2025 will stay on till 2029. Okay? Those that came in, the other ones that came in 2023, okay, they're going to stay there until 2027. So see now how it is? So then the 27 ones get voted out or voted in, whichever one, they have 4 years. Then the 29s, again, 4 years. So that's how it keeps going forth. So it is every 2 years, but not everybody runs every 2 years. You're still running every 4 years. Okay?
I still don't understand.
Huh?
Right now, still don't understand. Right now, they don't come in at the same time right now because they're different terms for each of these commissioners right now, correct?
I'm sorry, I apologize. Say it again.
None of them, commissioners, are here at the same time. They come in at different times.
No, they all come in at the same time.
The current ones we have right now,
The current one we have right here now?
they came in at the same time.
Came in at the
Yes.
same time?
Okay. I know what
Yeah.
you're thinking. Let me explain. We had someone appointed. So he didn't come in at the same time. But at the election time, 5 people came in per election. We had 2 individuals that stepped down. One of them because she ran for election in the state representative position, and you cannot have both positions. So she had to step down. And the other person retired. Okay? The third person got sick. So we stayed with only 2 people that were elected. Okay? But now we have 2 elected and 1 appointed. But on 2023, March of 2023, all the seats come up for election. All of them. All 5 of them.
Yeah.
Okay?
So it's possible some of them could get reelected.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
But I still see them all finishing at the same time regardless of what we do.
This time around, yes. It's if the charter gets approved and that section, you decide to make a change to that section, then you wouldn't. Then they would all come in at the same time now, but then 2 would have to run, or 3 would have to run 2 years later, okay? And then after those 2 years, those are in for 4. The ones that originally came in 2023, those are there for 4. But the original ones of 2023, only 2 or 3 are there for 4. You see? Not all of them are going to be there for the following election. I can draw it because it makes more sense if you see it than if I speak it. Does that make sense?
Makes a little sense to, as of what you're saying, gone, that means 3 are still there, but those 3 that's still there are people with experience to get those 2 that's just coming in,
Correct.
if they're not reelected,
Correct.
to train them before those other 3
Yep,
go out.
before that election comes up in 2 years, and then those 3 may be out.
Because 4 years is really a short term.
It
So
is.
With you learning everything, by the time you learn everything, now you see the
Yep.
someone else now has to learn it all over.
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't those other 2 positions been filled? They have to wait for an election.
Because we have a charter that explains how to fill those positions, and the way that they were done, the existing commission did not go ahead and elect to take care of it in that manner. So now we have to wait for an election. Another thing you should all know is we cannot have a special election unless Broward County gives us that election. So just because you want a special election doesn't mean I can get one for you. Like, I've been struggling with them, trying to see if there was a time where we can be put in. They said no. So that's where we're at right now.
So we're really waiting to 23 for the next 2 people.
Correct. Correct. Well, no, actually,
For
no.
all 5.
2023, you'll be voting for 5. Okay. So the next section is where it talks about the mayor, the vice mayor, the clerk commissioner, and so on and so forth. So this has a number of issues that you should also take into consideration. First of all is the composition of the clerk commissioner is a violation of the Florida statute. A person cannot hold dual charter positions. It's also known as dual office holding. The title of clerk commissioner needs to be eliminated because this is a ceremonial title, and the clerk commissioner is not handling the task of the department and is not a certified municipal clerk. The city of North Miami is the only one that I'm aware of throughout the entire United States that has an elected town clerk. And that is a function that becomes very difficult, because if you're elected, that means that every 4 years or whatever the term is, you're going to have a turnover. Okay? The person that does that position needs to be stable, needs to be somebody who knows what they're doing, and needs to understand that that position is way more important than what maybe some people feel it is. Perfect example is what Susie and myself have been put through since we started together. And it is documents and documents that were not properly executed that we're still finding. So imagine if you had that revolving door every 4 years and they're not certified. So when you talk about having a clerk commissioner, that title is really, it contradicts what our own Florida Constitution states. So that's why just removing the clerk and just having commissioner would be our best, the best option. The next section is that the mayor is not elected but appointed. Okay, so this is another area where you guys all have to take this into consideration. When the mayor, nobody runs to be a mayor here. Instead, when they become elected, they basically within themselves make that decision. Well, that is something that you can consider, and then these are some of the options you have. You could have that the position of mayor, they run at large, which means that everybody, whoever runs for mayor, runs through all the districts, not just one area. So they're going to run through all of them because you're now the mayor. You're representing all the districts. So that would be called at large. The other way that has been done in other places, just so you know, is you also have an option to go ahead and whoever receives the highest amount of votes, that would be the person that would be the mayor. So you can do it in that manner. You also have to take into consideration your vice mayor. Here, whoever they, again, appoint to each other, that's who the vice mayor is. in reality, you should be utilizing that position to also stagger it. Like every quarter, you change the vice mayor to give another person the opportunity to be vice mayor. That way, they can go ahead and they could run a meeting if the mayor's not here, and so on and so forth. So it gives them, it gives everybody equal opportunity. Okay?
So when you run for mayor at large, you don't win by greatest number of votes?
No.
How does that work?
You would literally run that you want to run for mayor. So let's say the three of you want to run for mayor. You each all submit your applications, okay, and go ahead and you run for mayor. And then you would not only be looking at the district you're living in, but you would be doing it throughout the entire town, okay? The other option is that, for example, designating a mayor, you could also do it by the highest amount of votes, is what I was saying. But then that person, like right now, see, this is why this is a little difficult to explain to you, because you have to make certain decisions to then get to that next step. But what I'm providing you is more the options to what that would mean, you see? So that's why we have to take one step at a time with all of this, like the district situation we need to discuss. We need to discuss, the form of government and so on and so forth. So let me keep going, and then.
One quick question.
Sure.
Is it going to be our job to decide whether we want a mayor or not?
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
Do we currently have one?
Yes. But you have a mayor that was appointed and not elected. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
A lot of people don't even know.
Okay, so the mayor at large, who vote for them within the commission?
No. The residents do.
So what we have now is what? The mayor,
Right now, the mayor is a vote by the commission.
commissioner, okay.
Yeah. Vice mayor, the same thing. Clerk commissioner, the same thing. Okay. We're going to get going now on the forms of government. The first one that we have is the commission form of government, which is what we currently have. We have a strong mayor or weak mayor form of government. That's another form of government. And then the last one is council manager form of government. Okay, so the first one is what we currently have now, which is, these are the characteristics. Voters elect individual commissioners to a small governing board. Each commissioner is responsible for one specific aspect, such as fire, police, public works, health, finance. One commissioner is designated as chairman or mayor who presides over meetings. One commissioner has both legislative and executive functions. The commission form of city government is the oldest form of government in the United States, but exists today in less than 1% of cities. It typically occurs in cities with populations below 100,000, such as Sunrise, Florida, Sunshine, Florida, Sunrise, Florida, and Fairview, Tennessee. I'm sorry, but I wasn't aware that Sunrise had that form of government, to be honest. I'm starting to think that information is not correct, because nobody has commission form of government at this time. So, next slide. The advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so those who factor the advantages for commission form of government is those who factor this structure of government contended that because power is concentrated in one set of individuals, decisions can be made quicker without all the checks and balances that typically delay action in the other structures. The second one is this form of government has worked well in emergency situations. A city commission is a simple organization structure, and this form of government provides swift, direct implementation of policy. The disadvantage. Unfortunately, time has proven this form of government does not live up to the anticipated benefits. Rather than allowing a city to make quicker decisions, there is often deadlock and inaction with department heads acting in a narrow interest of their own department rather than the city government as a whole. The city commission often lacks effective leadership because leadership is shared at a departmental level. Along the same lines, the city commission is sometimes lacking strong, effective political leadership. And this form of government encourages departmental limited outlook, making general administrative reorganizational difficult to achieve. Okay, so the reason why that I wanted you to know what the definition is, and by the way, these are definitions obtained by the Florida League of Cities, or the National League of Cities. The reason why I wanted you to know is because what isn't discussed or what is explained here is something which I find to be interesting, because it says that it has no checks and balances. And if it doesn't, that's one of the biggest issues we have. We want our government to have checks and balances. We also don't want one department to be stronger than another department, so that one department is not the one getting all the funding and everybody else doesn't get anything. So this is another reason why. In addition to that, in our town, we have a lot of departments that don't even exist. So here we have a charter with what the departments are, but they don't exist. So this type of government, although is the government that we have in our charter, you should consider what the other ones are, and I'm going to go through them now. Another thing that also happens with a commission form of government is abuse of power. And that is something that creates a bigger headache for the commissioners themselves. And it's not that they mean to do it, it's because they feel that they have the ability to do it, creating that issue among the staff, among the department heads, and among each other.
So this is what we have now?
This is the type of government you have now, correct?
The first four the first top one, that's what we have right now, correct?
The very first one, which is the commission form of government. Yep. Now, this one is a strong mayor form of government, and there's a strong mayor and a weak mayor. Why is there a strong mayor and a weak mayor? Because a weak mayor is the one that doesn't vote, and the strong mayor is allowed to vote. So that's the difference on the commission. Now, the characteristic. A mayor is elected separately from the commission, is often full-time and paid, with significant administrative and budgetary authority. Depending on the municipal charter, the mayor could have weak or strong powers. Council is elected and maintains legislative powers. Some cities appoint a professional manager who maintains limited administrative authority. Occurring in 34% of cities surveyed by the International City and County Managers Association, this is the second most common form of government. It is found mostly, but not exclusively, in older, larger cities or in very small cities, and is most popular in the Mid-Atlantic and Midwest. Cities with variations of a mayor-council form of government are New York, Houston, Texas, Salt Lake City, Houston, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. So this form of government, which is some things you should take into consideration. Having this form of government, basically, you also need a manager, because the person is not in town 24/7, although it does become a full-time job. And because you need training, and that's the other problem with having a strong mayor form of government, is that the training that you need to develop as a manager, okay, is important. And now that elected person would have that position, not necessarily that training. And there's no way of knowing, when they put somebody like that into power, it's not like you have the ability to check their resume and see their abilities. See what I'm saying?
So that's the difference between a weak and a strong, is whether you have a director or not, or a
No.
manager?
No, even if there's a weak, even if there's a strong, you will always have them. It's best for them to have a manager so that you could have somebody in-house going ahead and taking care of it and delegating the work. Okay, next one is the council manager form of government. And what are the characteristics of this? So the city council oversees the general administration, makes policies, and sets budget. Council appoints a professional city manager to carry out the day-to-day administrative options. Often the mayor is chosen from among the council on a rotating basis. This is the most common form of government according to surveys by the international ICMA. This form of government has grown from 48 usage in 1996 to 55 usages in 2006. It is most popular in cities with populations over 10,000, mainly in the Southeast and Pacific Coast areas. And those are the examples. Here in South Florida or Florida in general, it is typically, I would say, a good 99% of the municipalities have this form of government. This form of government allows the commission to be the legislative body, and it allows the manager to be the one to implement those policies. So up there, you would vote for the policy, and it's up to the manager to then put it to work in the town.
Who votes?
What do you mean, who votes?
WHO. Who votes? Who you say, you said somebody votes.
Oh, the commission would be voting, like, if you had a policy that you wanted to bring forth, you would vote for it as a legislative body, and that would be basically the rules.
Okay, what's the city council oversees? What's that?
That's what the city council would be overseeing legislative decisions.
Okay, who would be the city council?
The commission you have now, the 5 commissioners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then your manager would be the person that they would hire to go ahead and take care of the day-to-day work of the town.
Under this one.
Yes.
So this one is kind of similar to the last one in a way, right?
This one doesn't have a mayor.
They all
The
have
council-
mayors.
The council is mayor as well.
You always have a mayor. You have a mayor in any form of government. You have
The
a
only
mayor.
difference
The
is there's a
difference is the way
council
this
added.
mayor, it just depends how this mayor is elected. Is it elected by actually running for the position of mayor? Is it appointed through the commission? Okay? So that's the difference. Okay. So these are the requirements, just so you see right now. The requirements to run for commission is that you live in the town for 1 year, you're 18 years or older, and you have a voter's registration. So those are the only things that you need to run for commissioner. By the way, this is not uncommon because our Constitution allows anybody to be able to run. So it isn't like you can say no because you don't like the color of their hair or because they live in this neighborhood. No. So this makes it very open to everybody to run. I wanted to show you these so you'd understand what all these numbers are in the back of your charter. Every single time that you switch one of those pages in your charter, you're going to see all these numbers that are written there. That's when things got approved and were elected. So those ordinances were approved like, let's see, the first one says ordinance number 87-2-2. That is an ordinance that was approved during 1987. And that is the ordinance that has to deal with that section. Like, it's an ordinance that would complement that section, is what it's doing. It can't change it. It only complements it. Okay? Again, it talks about territorial limits, that's districting. And again, this was more for information than anything else. Same thing here. I wanted you to all see that whenever you see all of this information here and all those numbers, those are ordinances, and that's when it was adopted. So that you see, and there's even one section there, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th line where it says, and approved at referendum November 8th, 1988. So everything that was changed in the charter was approved during that period of time, and those are the ordinances and everything that were adopted. Okay, so going back and forth with having to do with the district areas. Okay, one of the things that this does is this section here was written so if those areas there is District 1, 2, 3, and 4 were adopted, or were annexed into the town. So that's why those were written in. But again, this is areas that we did not annex. So if, for example, your charter can state, annexed areas will be divided up equally, let's say. Or, so that, or districts will be redistricts based on annexation. So it could have other wording that doesn't exactly limit you, because here it has to be exactly those, rather than additional areas that may come around that are not those there. Does that make sense?
The last three don't even exist in the town, do they?
Correct. That's why I'm saying that the way this is written, it would have been better to, again, this is about the wording of the charter and why we need to change it. Because it would be better to have put down something that would say, annexation, possible annexation would be, and then it would be determined how that annexation would happen. Like, for example, a new area gets put in, and then now all the areas have to be redistricted, because now everybody, not 5 commissioners are not going to get a little piece of that one area that got annexed. So instead, what you have to do is redistrict.
Yeah, but wouldn't an annexation include going into the next town, like West Park, or no?
You could.
Or are you talking about just annexation in the town of Pembroke Park?
Annexation in general. Annexing a section of Hollandale Beach, annexing a section of Hollywood, annexing a section of unincorporated Broward County. It's just the word annex doesn't necessarily mean going into another town. It just means adding square footage to your borders, to your boundaries.
So it'd have to be on our borders.
Yes. Yeah, you can't just get a property over here that
Well,
doesn't
you just
touch.
got done saying Hollandale. There, I mean, yeah, we are connected to Holland.
I was giving examples. That was all. Okay, so on section 4A, this is the section that, again, it talks about the 4-year commissioners, it talks about the districts and the areas, and again, making that assumption of those districts, which they don't exist. Okay, so the consideration is if to continue with districts or for the commissioners to, or should the commissioners run at large. What are the pros? We'll have a greater selection of candidates, have everyone working together instead of division among the commissioners. And then the con is have a representative for each area. So you can make that decision if you want to continue with districts or if you want to eliminate the districts. It was even discussed before where election was to be for the town at large. So it's not something that I guess was not discussed. It just didn't get put in to make it, to actually make it as part of the running part of it, the election part of it.
Why is having a representative for the area a con?
Because you're only having one representative for the area rather than the entire commission. Does that make sense?
Well, aren't there multiple representatives for multiple areas?
That's what it is now, yes. But if all the representatives represented the entire town, you see what I'm saying? Not just their district. When you limit somebody to just their district, it becomes a disadvantage because that's the only area they're going to look at rather than looking at the town as a whole. So a lot of these sections that I went ahead and created slides for, at the bottom I put what is the appropriate wording that will clarify what is being said. So that's really why I provided them for you, so that you can look at them and determine, is this the wording that we're going to stay with, or are you going to make changes to it? So a lot of the slides that I have basically state that. See, this wording might be considered controversial because it says, "So help me God." But that is, right there, that is the town oath, which is the oath that I administer when somebody is going to go ahead and become a commissioner. Again, the language needs to be clarified, and this is one of the problems we had. When somebody's position becomes available, either through retirement or whatever it is, this is where you guys ask me, okay, why do we have this person appointed? This is why you have this person appointed, because it says, in case of a vacancy in the commission, the remaining commissioners may fill such vacancy within 60 days by a resolution until the next regular general election, by the vote of a majority of the remaining members of the commission. In the event the remaining commissioners fail to fill in the vacancy by appointment as a foresaid, by appointment as foresaid,
Said within the 60 days.
upon the application of any commissioner 10. Did I skip a line? No? Upon application of any commissioner, 10 days' notice shall be given for the purpose of holding a special election to fill said vacancy for said unexpired term in accordance with the terms of this charter. So what happened? You have, somebody steps down, you have 60 days to appoint them. You pass the 60 days, that's it. You can't appoint anybody to that position. You're done. You also have to make sure that the person you're appointing is from that district. So it can't be that now we have somebody that's qualified and wants to step in, but guess what? They're not within that district. So they can't be appointed to the position either. And then there's this thing that really confuses me, which says any commissioner, 10 days notice shall be given for the purpose of holding a special election. First of all, I'm not able to hold a special election like I told you guys. I have to get the date from the Broward County Elections Department. So I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking, but again, this is another area where we need to clarify that wording because it's not very helpful, especially for us when, like, the situation we had that 3 people were down and we were like, okay, so what do we do now? The good thing is that it says clearly that the remaining commissioners, because if it would have said there majority, we would not have been able to appoint somebody, because a majority is 3 for this commission. So it would not have been possible. So that one sentence helped us to be able to appoint somebody. Okay, so this is something I find very interesting. It says here, the commission shall be the judge of the election and a qualification of its own members. The commission may determine its own rule of procedures and may punish its own members for misconduct. That statement there, that they can punish their own members of misconduct, although you look at it and you say, okay, so there's ramifications for your actions because the commission, as the 5 members, can go ahead and punish you. But how are we going to punish you? There's no guidelines on that punishment. Other thing is, nobody that gets elected can be taken out of their seat unless the governor takes you down. So you're not able to really do much about that. Even though you have it there, and it seems like a great thing to have on there, but it really isn't because it's not something you're going to be able to use. Again, this is just the clarification of, again, the duties of the officers and what they're able to do and how we get things done through resolution and so on and so forth. So this is just another section, section 14 of the duties of the officers. And one thing you also have to take into consideration, no matter what your position is, unless it's a strong mayor form of government, all the commissioners have the exact same vote. So nobody has a higher vote than somebody else. And I have to find out for you, but as far as I know, also, the strong mayor may not be able to vote. So the decisions are made among the other members.
Commissioners.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who is our town mayor, by the way?
Mr. Jeffrey Jacobs. For the purpose of
Well, you said like that.
Okay, again, this is again another section that we discussed that again, all it is, all this is again, creating a bunch of departments that don't even exist. For example, it has there, the Department of Taxes. It has there, Health and Zoning. These are, again, they back when, they might have had those departments, but now they don't have them. As a matter of fact, the one of Department of Taxes, that's handled by Broward County. So this was another reason why this needs to be changed. This part needs to be removed from the charter because those positions that are there, those departments that are there no longer exist. So you have, again, a charter that's outdated on items that don't exist. So this is another area that you guys would have to make that decision. Okay,
Section 15? Section 15?
sorry?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about, okay, so that section, it talks about departments that no longer exist. It is a violation of the state statute for an elected official to also hold a charter position. So again, what we talked about, dual office holding. In this section here, where it says the procedures of ordinances and resolutions, just so you know, that's already in the Florida state statute, where it tells us how to go ahead and approve ordinances and resolutions. So we have to actually follow the state statute. So what I'm trying to say is that there's no need to have that section there because Florida state statute is already handling it.
Back to that options thing. It says it's a
one?
violation of state statute for an elected official to also hold a charter position. Yeah,
Okay?
so that means one of us couldn't be a commissioner.
Oh, no, of course you could.
Well,
Explain.
Or elected official. That's a key word, elected.
I mean, what is a charter position?
Okay, so that refers back to having two positions. For example, if I'm a city manager, which is a charter position, or I'm the town clerk and it's a charter position, I can't be elected somewhere else. But perfect example is Mr. Levy, who was here, the manager for 30 years. He was a commissioner in Plantation and was the city manager here. Okay? Because the position of manager was not a charter position, he could hold both positions. But if he were to go ahead and the manager position was a manager form of government, he wouldn't have been able to have held both positions.
Lived in the city of Plantation.
Yes, correct. So these are some of the things that you should consider or take into consideration, which is you should consider in your charter review board, you should consider placing the positions of town manager, town attorney, and town clerk in the charter. This is the way it's done in, like I said, almost every charter that you will read, those three positions will be charter positions. These three positions are charter positions in most municipalities. The three positions are independent because each one has a direct connection to the commission. The manager works for the commission, the attorney works for the commission, and the town clerk works for the commission. That's the reason it's three independent positions.
In addition to the mayor? In addition to a mayor?
Well, your mayor is part of your commission. When I say commission, I include the mayor. Okay? Okay, so these are the items that we discussed today for you to take into consideration. One of them is districts. So if you want to continue with districts or you want to eliminate districts. Running at large. Running at large would be for the mayor position, and running at large would be the way everyone would run if districts were removed. Okay? Type of government. The two types of government that we discussed were we discussed the three definitions, but the two that we were providing you, if you wish to change the type of government, would be the strong mayor type of government or the council manager form of government. Term limits. That's another thing that we discussed, which is how long can somebody run? Term limits and years in office are how many years somebody can run. So right now, you don't have term limits. So somebody could run for 35 years, okay, 40 years, 50 years. We had a commissioner here that was here for 30 years, okay? But if there was a term limit, that person could only run 2 consecutive, 3 consecutive, whatever you decided would be the...
And who was that?
Mr. Clark, Howard Clark. And then the other thing to consider in addition to the term limits is the years in office, which is what we're discussing about setting it up for 4 years or 2 years, that having the office run 4 years or 2-year terms.
Back to the district. I still have a hard time understanding 5 commissioners for this town. I don't see, I mean, what do other big towns have? Bigger than us?
They have 7, but
I mean,
a lot
like
of them have 5.
Like say, for instance, City of Hollywood. That's got to be way bigger than us, right?
The number of commissioners doesn't really have to do with the size. It's more what the charter had dictated. And in most places, it was 5. Other places, it's 7. You always want an odd number, as you're aware of. Mm-hmm. And then understand something. Sometimes the more the people, the harder it is to get something done, because you have 7 opinions. You have 5 opinions. If you have 3, it's too little, because you need a bigger, you need to have that mindset. But then if you have 11, you have way too many people, In a municipality this small, you would never have 3, because it creates a problem with quorum. It creates a problem with not having, the diversity you need. Okay, so it's
4 is an odd even
number. So
now I
5
see.
is the best.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. So then the other things you also can think about is when to vote. Right now, your elections are at March. You can change your elections to August or November. Why would you change your elections to August or November? Because it gives the opportunity for more people to vote. That's another thing you have here. You have very few people voting. So if you're somebody that can get, let's say, 200 votes, I think that's all you need to win here, which most places you need a lot more votes. So you can change the election to August or November, and again,
Versus what it is now, which is March.
Right now it's March, yes, sir. The other thing that you would be doing would be the removal of the position that the title is clerk commissioner. And then you would also need to figure out how are you going to determine your mayor, your vice mayor, how are you going to, designate them to have those positions. And the last one that I have is elections running for mayor. Do you want to do it a separate election? I don't mean a separate election at a different time. That's not what I mean. I mean as running for the position. So you could have 20 people running for council for just a regular commission seat, and you could have, let's say, 3 people running for mayor. So now you've got, out of the 3 people, only one's going to win, okay? And out of the others, again, only 4 will win. But now these 4 cannot be a mayor. So now you've elected your mayor rather than having it appointed by the commission, okay?
And it's currently appointed by the commission now.
Yes, sir. Well, that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions? I provided you with a copy of the presentation so you can go through it and you could, put your notes in or whatever you want that may be of help to you. The other thing is that the presentation has both the charter and the options and definitions so that it also helps you to look exactly what sections we discussed. So you could go back and take the entire charter and see, okay, we discussed this section, we discussed that section, if that's what you wish to do. But does anybody have any questions?
As far as these charter review meeting dates, we're going to work on the one for May at a later time.
No, we're going to have that vote now. If you're done with me, then we'll go now to the end of the meeting. Okay, so the next thing we have to do now is just have that discussion you just have to have that discussion on the board date, and it would only be that one date. If you don't want to make a vote now, that's fine, but I wanted just to give you what the options are. The next meetings are all set, which is February 28th, March 28th, April 25th. The only one we're going to have an issue with is Memorial Day, which is May 30th. So you
I
could
think
do,
we should maybe wait for that till the time gets closer. I mean,
We have enough time.
it would be my, we could say something now and then come April, people might say, oh, I'm going out of town that weekend or something, so.
that's perfect. That's fine. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and then we just have to keep it in mind that at the April meeting, you have to make a decision about. You could also,
At least the April meeting, at least before that.
of course, and again, you could also cancel it altogether that month. It doesn't mean that you have to have a meeting. It's, depending on what everybody's able to do. Okay, so we're done with everything. The next meeting is February 28th, and Chair, if you will entertain a motion to adjourn?
Is there a motion, or I do that?
Say, will somebody make a motion?
Okay, so the time is 7:17, and I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
A second?
Need a second.
Okay, so I'm gonna either put down Ms. Weber or Ms. Cunningham. Ms. Cunningham, you said you seconded it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
fine.
Thank you all so very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.